Blog Talk Radio.
Our refusal as women to accept this new age of tyranny, where not just women are in danger, but all marginalized people, where being uniquely different right now might truly be considered a crime. It took this horrific moment of darkness to wake us the fuck up. It seems as though we had all slipped into a false sense of comfort, that justice would prevail and that good would win in the end. Well, good did not win this election, but good will win in the end. So what today means is that we are far from the end. Today marks the beginning of our story. The revolution starts here. The fight for the right to be free, to be who we are, to be equal. Let's march together through this darkness, and with each step, know that we are not afraid. That we are not alone. That we will not back down. That there is power in our unity, and that no opposing force stands a chance in the face of true solidarity. And to our detractors that insist that this march will never add up to anything, fuck you. Fuck you.
From WBRN Radio in Boston and on the Boston Red Network. The title of our episode today, at least the tentative working title, The Women's Movement Moves On, or The Women's Movement Reactionaries Out, Progressives In. We haven't decided which one we're going to use, but we'll play around with it a bit. It was inspired by an article we read on the, I believe, 31st of March, one day short of April Fool's Day. And we envisioned that literally we were already in All Fool's Day, but nonetheless the circus was in town, and someone we had not heard from of late, one of the characters of the right, none other than Cleta Mitchell appears. She's been around, she's been infamous. She was the person that defended Sharon Wrongangle out in Nevada before Harry Reid sent her, as they say, to the cheap seats, and she hasn't been heard from since. Also, Gunner Joe Miller out in Alaska, which Susan McCloskey dispatched into infamy. He's tried to make a comeback, but there's no comeback for Gunner Joe Miller. And they said in one article, Christine O'Donnell, I don't think she actually defended Christine O'Donnell. Christine O'Donnell was one of our favorite right-wingers. She did for progressives more in this country than anyone else. Nonetheless, as Professor Reed once said in the Times, people of intellectual stature normally don't have an opportunity to write in the Times, but then others appear. Not saying that Cleta Mitchell doesn't have any intellectual stature. She does. But unfortunately, it's used in a manner in which is not the best, no doubt. Let's see if I can find the article here. Wait a minute. No, this is not it. There is another article before we get to some polling and start making a more concrete case for what actually is occurring here, as we normally do on the politics of many of these characters that revolve through the door, so to speak, and we look at them. I'm going to try to do a background on this character. There was an article written here, and for some reason things do get even mislaid here. So I guess it's temporarily mislaid, unfortunately. Was a very good article on some of the machinations with the Republican right in Washington. CPAP, we've covered that. That's the conservatives' conclave. We've covered it many, many times. And evidently this character Mitchell is one of what they call behind-the-scenes operators, or whatever you want to call them. Now, here we go. I know we'd find it somewhere. This is an article from The Atlantic. The conservative movement's anti-gay MC. This was on the 4th of April 2013 by Jonathan Knoll, looks like there. Anyway. Nonetheless, it's about a little-known group in 2011 called Go Proud. It was a sponsor of the Conservative Political Action Conference, CPAC. A staunchly right-wing fiscal conservative. They're still around. Pro-life message operation there. And Go Proud's main function was a gay rights group, I suppose, like, what is it, the Log Cabin Republicans, I think they call themselves. I don't know, they may not still be in business anymore. Mitchell evidently was on the board of the American Conservative Union, which runs a CPAC, no doubt. After calling for angry social conservatives, threatened to boycott the event if Go Proud was allowed to remain a sponsor. She orchestrated, this Mitchell character, the push to expel Go Proud. It was initially successful. The group remained, but after the 11th conference, David Keene was no longer the president anyway. So Mitchell and company cooked up a scheme the board voted strongly in favor of banning the group. So Go Proud was no longer very proud around that place there. So they were ousted. Evidently, according to this article, Mitchell doesn't dispute her major goal in the ban, pointing out that participants in the boycott included Heritage, the grandfather of conservative groups, were too big to ignore. But some involved in the process said Mitchell's role went well beyond simple responsiveness. She joined together with people like Jim DeMint, he's still around, Jim Jordan from Ohio, and groups who had never actually been involved. Though DeMint said simply false, added that his decision not to speak at the conference was unaffected by Mitchell. So I guess some dissent there. Different people tell different stories. Mitchell is not a household name even amongst conservatives. No doubt about that. She's part of the behind the scene. And this is the whole point we're making here. Power players that run the show in the Beltway. In addition to her role as at the Conservative Union, she sits on the board. Oh, really nasty. The National Rifle Association and Grover Norquist know nothing more than a front for corporate interests. Period. First and foremost, she's a lawyer, star conservative law firm Foley and Landner, one of the biggest and most powerful firms in the country. Never heard of them. So some of the people she represented, Marco Vegas Rubio, I wonder if she helped him out with his teetering on bankruptcy and how to manage his money. Jim DeMint, Kelly Ayotte. Well, Kelly Ayotte's out of business. Old man Jim Imhoff, I think he's still around. And Pat Toomey, he even got reelected in Pennsylvania. What makes Mitchell roles the primary movement shaking the conservative circus so fascinating? She's not always been a conservative. Well, that's not unusual there. Period. From 76 to 84, she served as representative in the Oklahoma State House. She was the first woman there to chair the state's Appropriation Budget Committee, and they've probably been going south ever since. When Mitchell first dove into hot butts and socialism, she wasn't as a defender of traditional values. And this is what we're talking about here, driving force behind the Equal Rights Amendment, of the Oklahoma, passage of the Oklahoma Equal Rights Amendment. The incarnation of the amendment was supported by Eleanor Sneal. I remember her. She was a compromise candidate at the National Organization for Women. Old lady Phyllis Schlafly, who is fortunately dead now, helped kill the national version of the ERA, an unfortunate situation. She hung around CPAC till she died. Mitchell criticized Carter's aide and women's rights activist Meg Costello, saying her views didn't go far enough. This is normally what happens many times on these issues. People, opportunists particularly, will come forward with something that is so far out of the ballpark. On the left, we had many ultra-leftists run around and shout things that were never feasible, period. Lennon talked a lot about that. She doesn't know enough about where we are in the women's movement and the ERA. Amongst all this social activism, according to a lawyer who is a close friend of Mitchell and fought the ERA with her, Mitchell never talked about the gay issues. We won't dwell on that. She had a husband that evidently was gay, and the poor fella moved to the Commonwealth and died of AIDS. I mean, I'd say no more about that. We don't spend a lot of time on that. Ed Gillespie said on Fox News recently that he doesn't see the GOP changing its views on the definition of marriage, and Rick Sartorius and others. Well, they're nowhere now. But with people like Jeff Flick saying that not only could he support a Republican candidate for president who endorsed a gay marriage, but also, and gay marriage is a dead issue in the Republican Party. Party should be more, according to the chair, he's now chief of staff there, previous for DJ Trump, accepting a gay marriage, and you don't hear even DJ Trump say anything about that. But beyond that, there's the Mitchell family curse. Old Mitchell, Dale Mitchell, was the man that made the last out in Dan Larson's perfect game in the 1956 World Series. And the Brooklyn Dodgers lost that series because of him. And he is never, never, never forgiven about that. In fact, an obituary here, I have to throw this in. It's kind of funny indeed. One of the writers for the LA Times, let me see if I can find this exact quote. I looked it up earlier here. Oh, here we go. Scott Osterler, opening the obituary, savagery, the most infamous oh no, looky-loo in baseball. History went down off the road, telling the readers that Mitchell will never will forever be the GOAT, and he was indeed the GOAT there. And the headline of the obit was Dale Mitchell watched the big one go by. Being a baseball fan, of course a Cubs fan, we couldn't resist that. But let's get to the article here. I know H will love this, and we have to put it out there. It'll be interesting to see what Haley has to say about it. Hallie, I'm sorry. Why did I say Haley? Thinking Haley's the last, isn't it? Hallie. Anyway. She will know. Is there a women's movement in 2007? What is it and who is it? And we were excited about her involvement in junior year in university, one of the founders of the Oklahoma Women's Political Caucus. We fought for legal equality and eradication of laws based on the English common law that put women in the same legal category as children and insane people. We wanted access to the Ivy League. This is one of the reasons that the CPUSA had criticized the IRA, and a lot of us had differences at the time with that. But it was a petty bourgeois mission, and now we say no more. Cleta has spoken. We wanted access to that to clubs. Well, now she has access there. She has access also to the bank account. Anyway, we got all of it big time. Women got into professions, yes, but not where they should be. The C-suites and the schools, the TV anchors. Yes, indeed. If they worked for old man A.O., she didn't mention that at all. But, so, why pray tell? Were these women and girls wearing those ridiculous hats, purposeless women marches? As we came in here, Madonna asked that question. Why do they perpetrate the Freudian question? What do women want? The women's movement has ebbed, and it's begun its success. Yet the suffragette Susan B. Anthony, failure is impossible, and has been hijacked by post-millennium feminism that declares victory is, and she mentions a 22-year-old daughter. Girls not allowed. We'll have to remind Ms. Mitchell that the Masters, the place where the Masters played Augusta, I don't know how they finally worked that out to admit women there, but they were, as they say, very tardy in it, to say the least. We hadn't got a woman in the White House yet, but she goes on to say such reactionary things. They want to be moms, wives, attend Bible study. Well, nobody's stopping anyone from doing that. Bake cookies, whatever. They're bitter deplorables. Well, no doubt about that. And if they happen to be conservative professional women, they're invisible. Well, sometimes seen and not heard. I guess that's an old adage, isn't it? But anyway, on to abortion. Won't spend much time on so much of this foolishness. We're told that legal abortion protection for women, deadly back alley abortion, that's quite possible in places like Texas. Feminists then and should be the vanguard of strict licensing enforcement of regulating boards at abortion facilities. No doubt that's being done. They don't have to worry about that situation at all. Feminists do not separate the word about Gunnell or demand investigation ensuring that its evil wasn't being pressed anyway. Then she has the audacity here to mention the infamous Todd Akin. He was in Missouri. His statement about legal legitimate rights, since this is a double standard for abortion rights. Mainstream media. I guess she's putting a little bit of lupin pressing in here without doing it. This is a feminism today. Abortion, no limit, no debate, no conversations, no nuances, no caveats, no tolerance. Wear your pussy hats and don't ask any questions. But women are not that monolithic. That's the same was said of African Americans, not that monolithic. I know I work with and I am a friend with scores of women who are smart, talented, strong, capable, independent, hope so, who are also pro-business, pro-life, pro-gun, devoted Christians and Jewish, conservative people. I guess she doesn't have any Muslim friends at all. And then she thinks of somebody like poor Kellyanne Conway. Well, the only famous thing Kellyanne Conway showed was a picture. She was on a couch on her knees. You can put in what you think. We've come a full circle, no doubt about that. The laws we fought to eliminate so women could have equal access. Well, they're on the fret now. In fact, we even have decrees that we negotiated with police officers. Her friend Beauregard Sessions is working on looking into those. But the greatest protection against female poverty are girls finishing high school, getting full-time jobs, and not making babies out of wedlock. Well, we have less of that today than we did when old Cleta got into business. These are obstacles facing women in society. Yes, they are, but American women equality under the law is what I work for and is today a reality. Well, I hate to tell her this is absolutely not the case. Let's get to a little bit of the polling here, and let's bear a little bit of this out. This is from the Quinnipiac University, and today's job approval rating, this is for DJ Trump, is at 37%, 56% disapprove of old DJ Trump. And let's see, amongst American voters, DJ Trump, is 35 to 57. Job approval rating with negative approval rating amongst men, European voters, leaving him before the worst approval ratings of President Obama. A negative 38 there in 2013. The job approval rating here, men disapproval, 51 to 39. Republicans approval, and this is where the world that the author Mitchell lives in, 79% of Republicans still approve. With European voters, disapproval is 48 to 43. Still fairly close there. Disapproval is 63 to 31 amongst women. 91 to 6 amongst Democrats, 57 to 32 amongst independent voters, 57 to 32, and 77 to 16 amongst the followers of O.J. Simpson. And we don't know about that 16. Anyway, American voters' opinion of some of Trump's personal qualities are most negative. He's not honest, 61 to 31. He doesn't have good leadership skills, 56 to 40. He doesn't care about the average American, 57 to 39. Yeah. He's even beaten Will and Romney. 66 to 39%. He's not level-headed. 64% to 33%. He's not a strong person. Oh boy, he's not going to be happy about that number. 60 to 35. He is that he's intelligent. 61 to 34%. So he doesn't share their values. President Trump continues to struggle even amongst his loyal supporters. And this is what we look at. In our model, we call it the core numbers. This is from Dr. Tim Malloy. Many of them have been hard-pressed to see even a silver lining in the troubled downward spiral. G.W. Bush, who had a negative of 28 to 67, that was in May of 2008, had less support, but it took 8 years to on popular wars and a struggling economy. That was the Depression. American voters say 55 to 36 that Trump is keeping his campaign promises. But 52% of the voters said they are embarrassed to have Trump as president, while 27% are proud. I wonder where they are. Trump gets a negative 28 to 64% approval rating for the way he's handling health care. 61 to 29, the way he's handling the environment. 48 to 41, I guess, handling the economy. That's still in works. 58 to 33, the way he's handling foreign policy. 49 to 42, terrorism. And 57 to 39, the way he's handling immigration issues. Supposed to be something strong there. 52% say the American economy is excellent or good, while 45% said it's not so good. Poor. Former President Barack Obama is more responsible than Trump for the current economy. 66% say he is. 18% it is President Obama's economy. Mitch McConnell gets a negative 14 to 47. Favorable rating. Compared to Chuck Schumer, 25 to 36. Well. The poll was of 1,171 voters. It was taken on the 30th of March to the 3rd of April nationwide. Error is at 2.9. It was conducted on the direction of Dr. Douglas Schwartz in Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Florida, Ohio, Iowa, Virginia, Colorado, and the rest of the nation as a public service for research. That is Quantipac. We'll look at one more poll here. This is the Business Investors Daily. Very good poll there. TPI poll. 56% disapprove of his job. Approval ratings for the president hasn't been this low since G.W. Bush last month in office. Last 40% of independents approve of Trump is doing. Just approve of the job he's doing. Just 29% approved today. That was last month. Amongst Republicans, he still is at 74. That's a 14-point decline. It was taken from the 24th to 30th of March. Includes 904 people out there. 34% were Democrats, 30% Republicans, 36% independents. He lost significant support amongst backers. European men dropped from 58% to 49%. Rural America from 56% to 14%. We did the story on Durant, Oklahoma, where they're losing the senior center there to Trumpnomics and Trump social policy. Just a third, 37%, raise handling as good or excellent, which is down from 43%. Only a quarter of those polled give him top marks on handling health care. Doesn't look good. And that's about all we have from, let me see, just a minute here. Excuse me. This was April poll here, and see if I can get a timeline on this. Okay, this is basically the same thing. He's at 34% there, and as they say, moving downwards. He started out in this poll, well, actually in May, he was about at, about 52%. Now he's down to 38% and moving in the other direction. Trump lost ground, we talked about that. Fell to 38% from 44.1 in March. And presidential approval ratings, they started in the 2001. That was under G.W. Bush. Remember, G.W. Bush stole the election from Albert Gore Jr. of Tennessee. The lowest for G.W. was 27.8 on his way out of town, so to speak. So this sort of gives you an idea of where things are. We'll attach that poll as an attachment. Let's do the sports now. Okay, we've gotten out of this. This is not actually meant to be an individual as much as a movement of people, where the GOP is, as far as quote-unquote the women's rights business is concerned. But let nobody fool you. The Women's March decimated DJ Trump, no doubt about it. Hundreds of thousands of people were there. No estimate there, a little short of 1 million people that came in the winter to Washington and heard an array of speakers speak, and these people have been organizing in the grassroots. Many of these people was organized by our own Tamika Mallory. Tamika Mallory was the organizer, was the head of the National Action Network, trained under the national leader, Dr. Al Sharpton. So we have a connection there with Tamika. And the other women that chaired it there, Ms. LeBlanc, Linda, and various other people representing various parts of the women's movement. Very important situation. We covered that march, and it was a historic marker. And on May Day, International Workers' Holiday, we'll have a strike patterned after the general strike in Seattle and the strike in Oakland, California, where not only people across the 50 continuous United States, but across the world will denounce Trumpism and the policies of the GOP. This is not a one-day affair. It is just the elementary start of our revolution, as Madonna calls it. So at this point in time, people out all across the country, talking to people, registering people to vote, getting ready for 2018. To, as my late partner Jerry Pippin would say, from the very red state of Oklahoma, to turn the bastards out. Also, I'm reminded here of the late socialist leader there in Oklahoma. Talked on the phone with him simply I think it was a few months before he passed. And we were talking about Mitchell, known to us as the Cleta, from 40-something years ago. But as MP Wright said, Cleta would do anything for money. And this shows that the whole opportunism behind the quote-unquote women's movement of that time, at least in quarters of it. But they settled for half a loaf of bread. As the women's activist Sandra Fluke would say, it's still at about 78%. We look at the tech industry out in Silicon Valley. Women are hardly there. I guess had a leadership position at Yahoo, but that's gone. There's several others that are there, but they're playing bid parts. Yes, there are women that are executive. Yes, there are women that are lawyers, but there are also women suing. People like Ailes, old man Ailes, Bill O'Reilly. Fox News is just lined with these lawsuits. We didn't hear a word out of some of these people about that. So we don't want to leave it up in the air. To ESPN, Tony Romo was officially released from the Cowboys, was thinking of going to Houston, but he decided he'd go to CBS. So he'll take Phil Simms' job. Phil Simms will have more of a minor part in the ball game. Period. And Simms will work play-by-play with Jim Nance. Jim Nance used to do the golf tournaments. We need to get more African Americans incorporated into these things. So Roma is now there. They're out. Let's go to the NBA. Incidentally, the Gorsham nomination is still there. The Democrats will filibuster it. Mitch McConnell, former political science teacher, will be forced to do what they call the nuclear option, where they will ban the filibuster and move with the majority to get this right wing on the court. What this basically means is the country continues on to the right. Alt-right is in the White House, and we continue the struggle. And the struggle is only in its elementary level. The Nets were at the 76ers in the cradle of liberty. Nets 41-18 over the 76ers. The Hornets were at the Wizards in D.C. 118-111. The Warriors were... Let's start over again. The Wizards were... the Hornets were at the Wizards anyway. The Wizards 118-111. The Magic and Cavaliers, they were in Cleveland. Cavaliers won 22-102. The Pacers were in Indiana. Now, well, they're always in Indiana. The Raptors were in Indiana. Anyway, the Pacers 108-90. The Nuggets were in the Big Easy. Nuggets 134-138 for the Pelicans. The Bucks were in OKC. Thunder 110-79. The Bulls were in New York. Knickerbockers 100-91 for the Bulls. In overtime, the Grizzlies were in San Antonio. Spurs 95-98. The Trailblazers and the Jazz 106-87. The Timberwolves and the Warriors out in California, 121 Warriors to 107, and the Mavericks and the Kings in Sacramento, Kings 98-87. On to Major League Baseball. And no Don Larson perfect game. That was in 1956, I believe it was. And the Dodgers were still in Brooklyn. And nonetheless, the Tigers were at the White Sox in Chicago. Tigers 6-3. The Yankees were at the Rays. The Yankees shut the Rays out 5-0. The Rockies were in Milwaukee. The Brewers must have drank too much beer. The Rockies 6-5. Cleveland was in Texas. Cleveland 4-3 over the Rangers. The Mariners were in Houston Astros 2-1. The Cubbies win one in St. Louis, 2-1 over the Cards. The line score there, 5 hits and 2 errors, and the Cardinals 4 hits and no errors. The Giants, a game we tuned into, were in Arizona. 8-4 was the score. Giants over the D-backs. Giants had 15 hits, no errors, and the D-backs 7 hits and 2 errors. The winner there was Mr. Cato. The Angels and Athletics in Oakland. Another game we tuned into, 7-6 for the score. Angels there. Line score 9 hits and 1 error for the Angels. And 9 hits, no errors there. Padres and Dodgers. Another game we tuned into. Padres shut out the Dodgers 4-5. The winner was Mr. Richards. And that does it for Major League Baseball. So the Cubbies move on there. I guess we can take a quick look at the standings to sort of get over some of the dismal things that are going on these days. Nonetheless, in the American League East, the Orioles are on top. They are playing 1,000. I suppose we shouldn't spend a lot of time with this. Cleveland in the Central is on top. They got 2 wins and no losses. And in the West, Houston's on top with 2 wins. In the National League East, Mr. Bernanke's Nationals are on top, 1 win. In the Central, Cards and the Cubs are both playing 500 ball. 1 win, 1 loss, 1 win, 1 loss. And in the West, the Rockies are on top. And the D-backs, they got 2 wins. The D-backs got 1. The Padres got 1. The Dodgers got 1. The Giants got 1. Everybody's got 1. We're all happy. Anyway, this will do it for us. Have a good day, everyone. We'll talk to you soon. Hopefully the voice is getting better. But there are about 10 bugs out there, and I suppose we could be victimized by all 10. Good day.